Hello, and welcome to Twin Study After Dark. I'm your host, Sallie, joined by my co-host, Katie. We're identical twin sisters. We invite you to join us as we investigate our similarities and differences in all things life has to offer. Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Twin Study After Dark. I'm your host, Sallie.
And I'm your other host, Katie.
Well, Katie, it's that time of year. I know you've been highly anticipating this holiday coming up, but do you know what holiday is next for us on this summer lineup?
4th of July?
Try again.
Juneteenth.
Try again.
Seriously?
Yeah, I think this one is before Juneteenth.
Okay. I'm not sure. Wait, okay. I don't know.
It's Father's Day.
Oh. Okay. I know I would have remembered.
What'd you have?
I would have remembered because I go to Target so often. So I would have seen like the Father's Day cards.
You wouldn't have remembered, but like somebody would have, it would have gotten brought up.
I wouldn't have missed it.
So I'm trying to think. Okay, so this upcoming weekend is Father's Day on Sunday. Is that the teens yet? I don't know. I need to look.
I don't know.
I don't know. When you said Juneteenth, I think Juneteenth is on a Wednesday this year.
Yeah.
Okay. So yes, Father's Day is next. But this is hilarious that you didn't even know that because that's kind of my point. So unfortunately, dads get the holiday where the summer's out, teachers aren't talking about it. You know, Mother's Day is all hyped up in school, and dads get the summer. And I feel like a lot of moms probably don't forget about it, but I bet you a lot of people do.
I don't forget about it. Like I said, I mean, I didn't remember it right now, but I would still have gotten the gift on time. It just would have been like probably last minute, not really thinking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but I actually already bought a gift for Theo to give his dad.
Okay.
So that's already done.
That's good.
Because I knew it was on the horizon. I didn't think about it.
Yeah. I reminded you a while ago because I told you what I got Adam. So the thing about Father's Day that I think is really funny is there was a comedian it was in 2023, so a year ago, and I'll link this to our show notes. But he had a hilarious skit, and basically he said, guess what rank Mother's Day is for holiday celebrated? And he said, it's number 2. So first comes Christmas, second comes Mother's Day. So it goes Jesus, then Mothers. That's how we celebrate Mother's Day.
That's funny. Who was the comedian?
Cindy. I don't know. I don't know. Okay, well, that's why I said I'll link it.
Yeah, we'll link it. Okay, cool.
Thank you for interrupting my story.
Sorry.
Anyway, Mother's Day is highly regarded, right? It's number 2. That's crazy in the United States to celebrate.
But not crazy because everybody should celebrate mothers.
But Father's Day ranked number 20. So, like, that's insane because that means, like, I can't even name 20 holidays. So there's holidays that I probably don't even celebrate that rank higher than Father's Day.
Do you think Father's Day matters to fathers? You know, do they care?
I would think that they do.
Yeah.
I mean, you shouldn't. We've gotten in a fight. When you were married, remember how Father's Day was so important?
Oh, God. Man, I went above and beyond for that man, too. He always had the best celebrations,
but
so.
I wanted to know that you were planning something.
Yeah. Oh, my God. That's so funny. We did fight about it.
Yeah.
So
I'm just saying, I think Father's Day, look, you're like, it's not a big deal, but clearly it was to him.
Yeah.
So Father's Day ranks number 20th. And I was like, that's crazy. But I do think that there is a lot of people that I know that don't have relationships with their fathers, like a significant amount.
Yes.
Like a lot of our friends and family do not have relationships with their fathers. So for whatever reason, I don't know. Maybe there are a lot of people that don't celebrate Father's Day.
Yeah.
And that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense to me.
But anyway, I was also thinking that there is this kind of, how do I say this? Basically, people have been noticing that millennial dads are doing it differently than dads in the past.
They're doing it better, right?
Yeah, so that's another thing online, and I'll link some of these TikToks too. But it's been coming up a lot on my feed lately, probably because Father's Day is coming up, but basically showing like millennial dads, like one in particular was like a girl that was videotaping her husband in the pool with their baby. Mm-hmm. And when she did it, she didn't mean to capture this, but the whole pool was dads with their babies in the pool.
Yeah.
And she's like, wow, millennial dads healing my daddy trauma. And I was just like talking to Adam about it. And I really think, not for everybody, I know this is an overgeneralization, but fathering has changed.
There was, like, I feel like we had a few okay examples and good examples. I would say like a couple good examples of dads dadding in the neighborhood growing up.
Yeah.
I can think of our next door neighbor specifically who was always outside playing basketball with their kids. And they were just really good dads. You could tell like they were very involved and invested in their children. Mm-hmm. But then on the other end, we said, we knew a lot of people that didn't have dads that were present or invested or even around. So
most of our friends.
Yeah. So now seeing the difference and knowing I work with a lot of young millennial dads, and I see like how they talk about their children, them coming in at, 9 because they dropped their children off at school before coming in, them leaving for special events for their children. When we grew up, I just didn't think that was a possibility, like from our dad. I didn't have those expectations that he could always make it to everything because I knew he had to go to work. And now I'm seeing the culture change where dads can shift their schedule around to be present on both ends. And I think that's so amazing.
Yeah. I told the story last Friday, feedback of Adam on the plane with our twin baby girls, like walking them down the aisle, and how many women made comments about like, oh my God, he's such a good dad. I'm like, what about me type thing. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the women that made comments were older women, and one in particular was like, there's just not a lot of men who would do that. And I think that's changing.
I think it's absolutely changing. Yeah.
Because she was older, so she's reflecting on her generation. Yeah. It was probably like her role to do that, like comfort the baby. But it is changing, and I'm so proud of like just the men that are dads nowadays, because I'm not saying that all of them are perfect, just like there's not all the moms in the world aren't perfect, but there's a lot of men really showing up and realizing my job is not solely to provide money. And I mean, honestly, there's more stay-at-home dads now too.
I have, honestly, my sister, obviously, her husband, Adam, is a great example of a dad. He's fantastic. He's very present, and he always, I mean, it really is 50-50. Like he
really is, like, I feel like a better dad than I am a mom. But he takes it so seriously.
But I also have a neighbor across the street who is just like the best example of a father. And I think that sounds creepy, like my neighbor across the street. But he really, walking in my bedroom. Our children play together and stuff, but like he is like, I can tell, just like a really, really good dad. But you can
tell he's a really good dad, but also a really good husband.
A really good husband. But a good husband is a good dad.
It's
right?
True.
Like, yeah. I remember.
You can't be. I guess you can be one or the other.
You can be one or the other. Yeah. Yeah. Because I remember when I was reading something after I got my divorce, and I remember, oh gosh, I can't remember the exact words, but it was essentially like, marry the man who's going to be a good father to your children. And so you could have this passionate, heated love, right? But if he's not going to be a good father and you want children one day, then break up with him. Because I've been in those situations where the love overtakes everything, and then you're in a situation, you're like, oh shit, like they actually would be the worst dad.
The minute you introduce men to kids, you can automatically see if the man is just as like needing to be taken care of as
my God, for
like,
real.
If he's like thinking you're spending too much time with them, or if like it's taking away from his life or whatever, and it's like, I don't have time to baby you and the kids, like these are my kids.
Or like they require more attention because they're not getting it because you're taking care of children.
When you pick a partner, make sure you pick a man who's like actually a man, first of all, and second of all, gonna be a good dad. That's really important. I never thought of that when I was getting married to Adam. That thought never crossed my mind, which is insane.
Yeah.
But I mean, I lucked out because he truly is, and that's not even over, like I said last podcast, I'm not even over exaggerating. Like he's made to be a dad. He is a good dad.
Yeah.
But what do you think the difference is? What makes the difference in dads now versus dads before?
I I don't know the answer, to be honest, but
do you think it's more women in the workplace?
Okay, that's where I was going. If I had to guess, it's that more women are holding careers and have jobs to go to, and the cost of childcare is like a second mortgage. So I think that they're just stepping up. And I also think that they're getting, I don't know, what is the right word? There are jobs that are becoming more flexible so they can too.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and society is now accepting as well, like, it doesn't have to be the woman at home. A man can be at home. And, like, I don't know, I feel like it's just society shifting.
I do think there's a lot more women who are vocal too, and men, honestly, like on social media that talk about like these issues. Because, I mean, and I will say, even Adam, like, I'll always, like, if there's, so I'm actually, this is something that bugs me, but I pointed it out to Adam and now he always notices.
What?
And it's like, when I see a woman, say we're at Disney World, and she has the baby bag on her back, she has a baby on her hip, and she's pushing the stroller, and the man's just walking beside her with a beer. Have you seen that?
Yeah,
okay,
course.
So whenever I see that, I'm like, oh my God, that poor woman, like, he should be holding something.
He should be holding most of it. Let's be real.
Like, our bodies are like not made to carry.
Like, but we get really strong from carrying.
Our upper bodies are like weaker than theirs. I mean, Adam is so skinny, but he is so strong. Like, he can carry all the kids in his arms. Yeah. That is like challenging for me. So anyway, when I first started noticing it, I was just like, that poor woman. And then now Adam, like, whenever he notices it, he's like, that's not okay. Like, he always makes sure like he's holding the things, because it's just I know that sounds stereotypical. There's just like no reason. But sometimes like you're like, oh my God, that guy's doing nothing. And then now I think men are more aware of other men when they're not stepping up, because they know they should be.
Oh, like, okay, so I'm thinking about like baby on your hip, getting food on a tray, multiple plates, like bottle knocking over on the tray, and trying to go pay. That man should hold the fucking baby or hold the tray. Yeah. Like, what? Who?
Or I'm even thinking too, like, the days of you nurse all night and then you stay home with the baby during maternity leave, and a man comes home and like expects to relax.
Oh, or he says like he's exhausted.
Or right? I mean, God forbid, why isn't the house clean?
I mean, now we're like.
No, but I mean, these are all things that like men have done, and these are all things that I think are changing because men are getting smarter, and I think
they're getting smarter, they're getting better.
Like, I think a lot of men cringe when they hear stories of that, but I mean, we still have people in our lives that tell us stories, and I'm like, is he an equal partner? I'm confused.
So, my ex is gonna hate me for bringing this up, but when I was on maternity leave, he would go to work. He'd come home and he would be like, I've had such a long day. It was like no comparison. He thought that staying home, breastfeeding every 3 hours, not sleeping, because I wasn't sleeping.
Because you had night duty too.
Was easier than getting into a car and driving to work and having a lunch break. And I was like, and when I went back to work after maternity leave, you know what I realized? Parenting is harder than work. Yeah. Like, by far. Like, my easy job is the corporate one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what's funny? All parents I know say that now, men and women, all of them know, because I stayed at home for a while, and all my friends would be like, oh my God, that's the harder job. And Adam would always say that. Whenever he came home from work, he was like, Sally, what do you need to do to like feel like a human? Like, he would ask me that. Yeah. But the funny thing is when you think of roles in society and how our society was made by men, what a secret to keep. Right?
Oh my gosh.
Like, work is the easy part of the day. Like, what a fucking secret to keep. Like, women were just like, oh, okay, I'm lucky I get to stay home. Hell no.
I honestly, like, the drive to work, the quiet drive is such a luxury.
Oh my
God. It is such a luxury.
It really is.
Yeah.
There's days, like I said, I work at night. I've mentioned this a lot. And I'll be on call and I'll be praying to be called in. Just to like be like, can I go in and like have like an hour to myself, you know? So that's funny. But anyway, I don't want this.
We're going off topic.
Yeah, we're going off topic. And my point of this is I'm really excited for men today. And I'm really excited to watch our sons become husbands and fathers, because I really think we're starting to see some amazing fathers. Like I said, I think Adam's a better father than I am mother. Like, it's like where he shines. And what a disservice to men that we never gave him that opportunity before. Do you know what I mean?
I don't know if we didn't give it to them. I think like you said, men created this system.
Well, okay, but I'm just saying, for the men that didn't create the system and felt like they always had to be traveling for work and doing X, Y, and Z, I'm just saying.
Thank you, patriarchy.
Yeah, but like I'm just saying, now that it's changing, like that's really exciting for men who actually want to be fathers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's so exciting for them. Like, you get this opportunity that you never had before. What qualities do you think make the best dad? And we had a good dad, so like this is pretty easy. But also,
number one to me. Okay, now I'm like, this is a big statement if I'm saying number one.
Oh yeah.
Number one to me is showing up. If a dad
just show up.
Just show up. That's number one. That's a bare minimum. That's all you have to do is you just have to show up.
I wouldn't say that's number one. That's just like you're talking about, like, just show up. That's part of being a dad.
No, like, I'm thinking about when your child has a baseball game or when your child has a dance recital. Don't say you're going to come and then not show up. And when I think about our dad who traveled all the time, he went out of his way to show up to every soccer game. And that was huge for us.
But I want to just put it out there. Just showing up is not even a credential for moms, because they are expected to show up to everything. Why does just showing up make a good dad? That should just be expected of the dad.
You're right. Yeah.
So I don't think that's I'm looking for better qualities than that. You know what I mean?
Makes a really good dad.
Yeah. What makes like a really good dad? I will say being a really good partner. And even if you're divorced, being a good partner.
Because you're leading by example. But that's like what makes being a good parent. Like, lead by example. Treat people well. Treat your partner well, so then your kids can see that and they treat their future partners well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to say like what makes a good dad, because it's essentially everything that makes a good parent.
Yeah.
You know, like
being like a good listener, being there for them, like allowing individuality, being open-minded.
Yeah.
You know what we should talk about? Because we're talking about how fathering is different than mothering and like the different stereotypes about dad bods.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, like a couple years ago when everyone was into the dad bod.
I think people are still into the dad bod.
Are they still into that? Okay.
Yeah.
So dad bods, that blah blah.
Can't blah 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 blah.
Well, they kind of are blah sometimes. Dad bods versus mom bods. Like, dad bods, we are like, women are so attracted to them. But essentially a dad bod is kind of a belly, not really the most jacked, but strong, I would say. And it really seems like a man who's kind of let himself go.
But it just looks like a regular ass man. Like,
it looks like a regular body.
Yeah, it looks like a regular body to me. I honestly feel like it's just the dad factor, because, again, when I started dating, once I was single again, being a mom was such a turnoff. Like, oh, but you're a single mom. Oh, but you're a single mom. When my ex started dating again, everybody's like, he's a dad. Oh my God. He takes care of his son. It's just a double standard.
It's a double standard, but also, like, I can't knock it because I think dads are hot.
No, I get it. I totally get it.
I remember when I was in school to be a teacher, I was like, had a fantasy about, like, I'm going to teach kindergarten and there's going to be a divorcee who comes in and be a dad and we're going to fall in love. That's so creepy and fucking weird.
No, it's being
a dad is so hot to women.
It is, because I don't know. There was this guy who is not like by society standards attractive probably, but he's just the sweetest man. He's like bald and like kind of a nerd, but he has 2 daughters, and this is at my work, and this was a long time ago.
You're like, but I know he's gonna know.
No, I was like, need to be careful. But he would always talk about them, and I was always like, man, he's like my goal of like what I want to find one day.
No, I seriously, when I used to work, when Adam and I were just dating, or even before we dated, there'd be all the higher ups at work, and they'd all have their families, and I'd just be like, could they be hotter? Like there is something about a dad. I think it's the level of protection, and you see that soft side to them as a father. And there's just so much. I mean, women are just attracted to dads. I don't know why. I mean, I think it must be something.
It's probably the nurturing. I think it's like the nurturing element that, you know, I don't know. It's so weird, but it is totally a double standard because also mom bods don't really have like a stereotype.
Yeah, a dad bod. When I think of a dad bod, I don't think of like an 8-pack of abs. I think of like a tummy, like some nice shoulders, like a bigger upper body than smaller body, like holding a beer. like they're just like drinking beer or like at the golf course, and they just look like they have not gone to the gym in a little bit, but like they're probably active in other ways, aka playing with their children.
Yeah.
And that's how I think of the dad bod, and I think that's hilarious that women think that's the hottest bod, and women, we're like upset if we're not a size 2.
Well, it also, have you seen like those charts like of all the, this is so bad we're talking about bodies in this way, but it'd be like a man with abs or like a dad bod or like a heavy set man, and like the dad bod to heavy set is like what most women circle.
But also,
isn't that weird?
So that's like in terms of body type, women just like that.
What they're attracted
to. But also,
to.
If there was a label where it was like not dad, if women knew it was a dad, they'd be like, oh my God, so cute. Like, I don't know. Women love dads.
I don't know.
Whenever Adam goes to the store alone.
Or maybe it's just us. You're like making these blanket statements.
I think this is true because whenever Adam goes to the store and he'll take the kids, for instance, Adam took all 4 of the kids to go get a birthday present today for a little boy because I had to record, which is a lot. 4 kids is a lot, but he'll take like 2 of the kids, all of them, I don't know. But he'll always, like, I'll be like, when he comes home, so how many times did you get hit on today? He gets noticed by women when he has kids on his hip.
He has 4 children with him. Of course he gets noticed. And they're all different colors. Of course he gets noticed.
They're probably like, is he stealing those children? No, but he always gets hit on when he has kids. And I don't think that's the same for women either. I think if I have a baby on my hip, generally I'm not talked to by men.
No, I would not.
Whereas like women, but also I will say, what about this? Maybe more women talk to men with kids because they know they're safe. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely, like, when Theo was young, oh crap, whatever. My son's name is Theo. He was at the park. Yeah. I really try not to I try hard not to use names. When I was at the park with him when he was little, I'd always talk to the dads at the park because there were a lot of dads at the park, and they seemed like totally safe and approachable because they were with their children.
Yeah.
So
I think that dads, they do get a lot of attention when but it might just be because they're with children, and that means they're safe, a good person usually. But yeah, it's just so funny. I was like, the dad bod is just, I mean, it is a thing.
I think that, yeah, I don't know. It just sucks for women that we're held to such a high standard.
I know. I wish that men would be like, I love the mom bod. Like, give me a stomach that's not like super hard and tight, and I love your jiggly thighs. Or, I don't know. Like, it just seems like. But you know what? I say that, but actually, I think dads that are good husbands actually do like that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's easy to like fit mom bods into like one image, like
because there's so many
different body types for women.
Yeah, I know. And for moms in general. We should do an episode on that, like the different types of moms. There's so many. But anyway, okay, so the last thing I wanted to kind of talk about is we had a really, really good dad, and I have a really good husband dad. husband that's a dad. So I wanted to like kind of talk about, first of all, our dad and some of the things you remember that he did right as a dad, because we did have a good dad. And unfortunately for him, when we were growing up, it was society standard for he really did work a lot. He was like the financial provider, and that was his number one role. I think that he even looks back at it now and says, because I remember when Adam was getting up every other night with the baby and the babies, and I would get up every other night. We split the shifts, and he was like, Sal, that is not how it was when I was little, or when I was with you guys. I probably should have been more helpful. Like, wow, he's a really good partner. And I think they can reflect now and see times have changed.
Yeah, I would say he's a really good grandpa.
He's the best.
He's the best grandpa. To me, because I didn't know anything was wrong with it, I never felt like, as bad as it sounds, I don't think I really missed him when he was working.
It was the norm.
It was super normal. It's just how life was then. And I always knew that the way my dad was showing us he loved us was by providing for us financially. And I somehow knew that. Like, he ingrained that in us. Like, it's like,
he did or did mom?
I don't know, but like, it was, to me, that was like a form of love, was to provide for the family.
And the funny thing is that I don't recall our parents having conversations with us telling us that, like, daddy loves you, but the way he loves you is by working.
Yeah.
I don't remember them having those conversations. But I do know they were having those conversations with each other, because I remember specifically one time I was a big bitch to my mom, and I was like, you don't even work, or something like that, which is insane and karma, because I became a stay-at-home mom. But my dad literally freaked out on me. He goes, Sally, you never say that. Your mom has the hardest job in the world.
Yeah.
And so he knew at the time what she was going through as a mother. So I know they had these conversations or realizations, but the time was just so different.
Yeah.
But I want to say the thing, Dad, I'm very, very, very thankful for. So many things, but we've talked about this before, was just the quality of time when he was around was out of this world.
Yeah.
He was always like out on the soccer field kicking balls with us, or he'd come to all of our games, or every minute he was home, I really think he was just playing with us.
Yeah, he was definitely the fun parent. Like, you know how there's always like one that just, but it's because mom was doing the day in and day out stuff, that it's almost like you recognize them less, because they're just the normal part of your life. Mm-hmm. When he came around, it was like the fun things, or like the Disney trips, you know?
I feel like, though, I did, even though he worked a lot, that was ingrained in me too. And I do appreciate seeing that he was a hard worker. His drive definitely is instilled in us.
He is the reason we have the work ethic we have. And also, he had a really he has this really amazing side to him. Somehow he has to have ADHD or something, but he does not like wear out. Like, he can keep going for long periods of time. So like, when his father was sick, or when his sister was sick, he was driving back and forth between Wisconsin, Indiana, I mean, regularly, as in multiple times a week, and like staying up all night. And the amount this man travels to be with people that he loves and takes care of is unreal. Like, I bet a normal everyday person wouldn't even think it's possible.
Yeah. I think that's the difference too, between like the time period of, oh, my dad missed out on everything because he was working. Our dad didn't really miss out on anything, because and this reminds me of Adam, where like literally they function at such a high level that you're just like, holy shit, you're performing 100% in every area. And Dad really did. I mean, I remember I got in a car accident in college. He was there an hour later. Like, he like drove to the location. Like,
right. And like, he's the first one there when the babies were adopted.
I mean, he's always the first one.
And you're
there.
Like, where did he come from?
He's miles, plane wise. Like, he might have a private jet. I don't know. Like, he's always there. Like, if someone has a surgery, and it's just like, And granted, when we were little, he was moving up the ladder, so he probably couldn't do it as actively as he does now. Now his schedule is so flexible because he's made it to a point where he can like leave work. You know, he doesn't need to be there. But yeah, I think that was something our dad did amazingly, is when things were important, he did not miss them.
Well, and he's a caretaker too. Like, it's just, our mom's gone through surgeries and we've seen him take care of her. And that, if you want to talk about a good example to set, that is like the most beautiful example to set, is like, if you have a partner who's ill or sick and they can't take care of themselves, watching him take care of mom was so beautiful.
Yeah, it was so beautiful. And again, what I said, like, a good husband is usually like a really good partner.
Yeah.
Because that's important for your kids to see. One story I just wanted to share, because we shared this on a podcast back in the day, but it never aired, was one of my favorite memories of our dad was when we were in 6th grade. Katie and I tried out for like a select soccer team. So basically, instead of playing recreation in Wisconsin, you would try out for like a select team, and that team was, you'd go through tryouts, you'd make the team, you do travel stuff, and it was just a lot more competitive of a league. And Katie and I tried out for the team that was in our city, and we got the news like a couple days later that we didn't make it, and the coach said that they only had room for one, so they just were going to say no to both of us, which I don't even think that's true.
That probably wasn't even the real reason.
I don't even know.
I don't know.
But, you know, we just weren't good enough. So,
also, everybody's parents was friends on that team.
Yeah.
There's some politics involved.
Hello.
Because
it was in 6th grade, and how good can you really be? But anyway, I remember we were devastated. We were so sad because all the kids from our school were going on this other team, or this team.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we probably cried. I don't remember.
I remember crying a lot.
Yeah.
This was a big deal.
So the next morning we wake up, and I just remember walking into the kitchen, and my dad had the newspaper out, and he was circling all these things. And I was like, what are you looking at? And he goes, hey, Sal, so I'm looking at other teams, and there's other teams in the area that are doing tryouts. What do you guys think about trying out for another team? And he like was literally circling the newspaper ad.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I don't know. And I think after like getting denied, we were really, you know, we were like almost like, we were in 6th grade. We kind of wanted to give up.
Also, when you're that young, your world is as small as your school. So to think that there's other teams outside of your city and you'd have to go and try out with people you've never seen or met before was really, really scary.
It was really scary.
Yeah.
And so anyway, my dad, he found a team that was giving tryouts, and they had like 2 tryouts in the next week, like on a Tuesday and Thursday or whatever. And he drove us there. I think our mom was with us too. I think it was like a big deal. Yeah. And the tryouts, again, it was like PTSD because we just didn't make the team, you know.
And these tryouts were ridiculously harder than the first tryouts.
Like literally so intense. Like this coach, and like I just want to give a shout out to Lori. She has since passed, which
she was just an angel.
She's literally the best soccer coach in the world for young women. Oh my God. But anyway, she played college soccer, so the tryouts were really intense. And we did 2 days of those tryouts for this other city, which it felt far away, but it truly was like 10 minutes outside our city. And we ended up making the team. And the funny thing is I think the first year they probably didn't even have enough kids to make cuts. So we just made it because like they didn't cut anyone.
Yeah.
But the reason I look back at it, and I look back at the fond memories of it and that experience with our dad, is because he let us fail. We experienced failure, and then he showed us how to redirect, change our mind, and go a different way. And that team became so important to us through our childhood. We were on that team for over 10 years.
From 6th grade to
no, okay, so 18,
19 maybe?
Yeah. So like a long
18?
time.
Yeah.
And I actually ended up playing college soccer in that city. So wow, what a crazy a full circle thing, right? we would have never became the soccer players we did become if we made that first team. No. That first team, they didn't have the coaches we had. You know what I mean? So, like, it was honestly one of those moments you look back on as an adult and you're like, shit, that all worked out for a reason. But also, like, shout out to my dad because he didn't know. I'm sure he knew as soon as we came to the trot. I'm sure he was like, damn, they're going to be good with this. Like, this coach is really good. You can tell when a coach is good.
Yeah, and it was so good for us, too, because, like I said, it expanded our little world to much larger. And I think that built our confidence. We were always really shy growing up, but it did expand our confidence, and then it allowed us to go to soccer camp, you know, where we could meet new people from all over the state, you know, and not be so scared. And then also the original team ended up, what happened?
They like fell apart.
They fell apart eventually. So a lot of them ended up coming and joining our team.
In high school.
In high school, yeah. And so, like, it was just, you know, I think it was one of the most important lessons we could have learned as children.
And I think that when I think about a great parent, it's like giving your child those opportunities to learn on their own, because our parents could have just said, they could have done nothing.
They could have let us quit.
Yeah, which we were going to do. But I know he didn't even force us to do it. He's just like, would you guys still want to play soccer? This is a way you can do it. And I'm so freaking thankful he did that.
Yeah.
Because instilling like redirection in people and flexibility, it just is so important. And it was also a lesson in sometimes things fall apart because there's something better for you. It was like our first lesson in that. And I do want to thank our father for that. That's like one of the biggest things I think he's taught us is like, we're pretty good at redirecting when things go wrong. We can like pick up the pieces and go somewhere else.
Yeah. And honestly, shout out to De Pure Select, because all that team was like family growing up.
Yeah. And that city is still known for soccer. Like, it's really cool to see how that soccer club has grown, because it was just the original days when we started, but it's grown. And shout out to Lori, because I know she is.
We love her.
Yeah, she's around here somewhere in spirit, but the amount of people she affected positively is just out of this world.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to talk to Dad about to say thank you for?
I don't know. I mean, I just thank you, Father. I don't think you listen to our podcast, but maybe you will, because this one's about fathers.
Yeah, I'll send this one to him. I mean, half the time Katie's bashing types of fathers.
I know, but I like my dad because he's like my favorite.
He made sure you went to art school.
So that's the other thing, is he is very supportive. I could not have asked for a better dad. Like, I think so highly of my dad. Like, I aspire to be like him, honestly. Like, it sounds so ridiculous, but I always felt like if I could be anybody, I'd be my dad.
You're probably more like Dad than I am, in terms of like how much you love work and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it's funny because, I think
I do though. Dad has put up with a lot from me, like all my major mistakes.
I mean, both of us.
He's
bailed us out a couple times.
He's bailed us out. I think he can no longer bail me out of anything, because
I think
I've had some big ones.
He'll continue to bail you out. Also, it's funny because in my parents' will, they say like Katie will be the one in charge of like pulling the plug or not pulling the plug if my dad is on like life support someday. And I got my mom. And they said they drew out of a hat.
They said that they just gave one of us each one.
And I was like, no, Mom is smart, because she knows I'll be like, just give it a couple days. Maybe she'll come back to life. And Katie's just going to be like, yank. Okay, we're done. He's dead.
Because me and Dad would never want to be in a position where we're not ourselves. That's how I feel. I feel like both of us would die. Like, we would rather die than have somebody else take care of us.
So anyway, they were like, we pulled it out of a hat. And I'm like, no, you just know Katie is going to say, okay, he's not going to be on life support. And I'll be like, can we give it a week or two? Like, let's really think about this. And I think Mom wanted somebody like that, and Dad wanted someone like that.
We also, like, we are running out of time, but it's funny because our parents are going to move down here in like a year and a half maybe.
Yeah.
And I always think like, I don't need friends because I'm just gonna go hang out with mom and dad all day.
They
like,
expect it.
I'm so excited because like that's how much I love them. Like I would rather hang out with them than anybody else in the entire world. I mean, aside from maybe Sallie. But
I know it's just like a warm, safe feeling of knowing you're always gonna be like fed and
we're like, why do I even have my own home? If I could just move back in with mom and dad, I would.
Yeah. That's so funny. Okay, so lastly, what I want to do is I do want to give out a shout out to Adam because even though he is not my own father, he is the father to my children. He is the editor of this podcast, and he is a wonderful sister, wife, husband to Katie. Even though Katie now she has her own partner, she's not with us as much. But for a while there, Adam was like very much in the lives of both of us because whenever Katie would have an issue, she'd call Adam to come fix it.
It would be like, I need this picture hung.
It's so funny because even beforehand, you'd be like, I had surgery on my uterus. Can you?
Oh my God, why did he pick me? I was married then. Okay, so that's also like my own husband would never pick me up from places.
Like a surgery that's like very painful. And I remember like one time you like got out of surgery. Katie hasn't had a ton of surgeries, but I guess you've had a couple.
I think that one was just like a biopsy or
vomiting
something.
In the car.
That was with Adam. That was a biopsy, I think.
But anyway, I just want to shout out to you, babe, because you truly are just, like I said, you're a better father than I am mother. I think you rock at it. If there was a world where you could stay at home, I know you would because you just genuinely love being a father. Yeah. Like, he is manipulating his schedule every single day to be home as much as possible. And when he's home, he's 100% there for the kids. He hasn't really done one thing that I'm like, you're going to scar them. Like, I'm going to be the one that scars our children. And Adam is
He'll never know what does that. Yeah.
No, he's the best dad in the world. And I love you. And I'm so freaking lucky that I ended up with you as a partner. And the kids, I'm just so grateful that they get you to look up to. I think our girls are going to have really high standards when they find a partner. And I think Scott will too. But I also think if Scott goes on to be a father, he will be a good father because he got to see you be a father. So thank you for that.
Is this episode going to be released after Father's Day?
No, it's literally released tomorrow.
Oh, wait, this is getting released tomorrow?
Yes, Katie. Father's Day is this upcoming Sunday. When I tell you Katie just shows up for this shit.
Oh my goodness.
And then I'm the one planning all this.
Oh, I'm like, no wonder you said it was last minute. We had recorded, to be fair, a few episodes like 3 weeks ago, so I didn't know how many we had left.
No, none. Okay, this one is recorded tomorrow. Okay. And hopefully I don't need to edit a whole
Oh my goodness, so funny.
But anyway, everyone go out there this week. Spoil those daddies that are doing a great job. Rotten, they deserve it. Mm-hmm. And we love you guys. We will talk to you next week. We will be releasing our first guest interview. I am so excited for you guys to hear from this dad. He's a dad too. So you'll meet up with us again next week, and we love you guys. Bye.
Bye.
Hi everyone, it's Sallie. We're going to leave our story there for today and pick up next week on Twin Study After Dark. If you've enjoyed our podcast today, please rate, review, and subscribe. We'll meet again next week for more Twin Studies. Bye.